Today I want to talk about one of the best, I think the best utility knife I have ever handled. This is the Flissa knife, and then we'll jump into some exciting multi-tool options they offer as well. Now, why I'm talking about this is because this has become my go-to companion for my SOG power access. Now, I do not like the knife, this little tiny knife on my SOG power access. I know some of you had said it's just fine, but to me, this, as well as knives like on the Gerber NXT suspension, I believe they just seem a little bit inadequate. So I like a companion knife to take with me. I was carrying the Ozark Trail, the D2 for $10, but I ran across this Flissa utility knife, and this thing is absolutely amazing. This has a titanium head. I'm not sure if the body is titanium. I think maybe this just part is. This comes in around 2.4 ounces or 64 grams. It's the lightest utility knife I have ever handled. It fits great in the pocket. I can't say enough good about it. Now, it will scrape up this body right here. I have had some issue with that, but I mean, the action of this knife is just really, really fantastic. So I can overlook stuff like that. It's not the toughest body out there, but I can overlook cosmetic flaws because this just works great. I mean, it feels almost like a ball bearing action. I'm sure it's some cheap version to make it feel that way, but it just feels really, really good. It is fantastic. Now, it's really easy to take the utility blade out, put it right back in. One of the things that we do run into sometimes with these overseas brands is that they use some almost like special utility knife blades. Anyway, there we go. And yeah, it works great. So it does accept normal utility knife blades. I know Roxxon doesn't. So that is something that some people might be concerned about. I really like the lanyard hole right here. It does come in at $28. That is a little pricey for a utility blade, but I feel like with its weight, its really smooth action, and how absolutely pocketable it is, this is the best one I've ever run across to date. I know there's some brands that make them for like $99 or $130, but for $30, this is fantastic. Well, enough of me praising the Flissa utility knife. Let's look at some other products that they have as well. Now, it looks like SwissTech has just gotten this multi-tool under their name. This was previously SwissTech, and it had another name besides, but it looks like it's released in the US under the Flissa name. Let's go ahead, test out some of the features right here. This is pretty much a champion. It slices right through seat belt. Let's take it through this heavy strapping, slices right through heavy strapping. Then when we do things like paracord, it just slices right through. These are really nice scissors that I would classify almost a little bit more as micro shears. These are very nice. These are very heavy duty. This comes in a fantastic frame that, frankly, I wish they would release with a plier head. It's just over 3 inches, about 3¼ inches. It's a little bit heavier. It's definitely a little bit chunkier in the hand, but it's a perfect frame size. Comes in at 6.3 ounces or 178 grams roughly. Again, my scale's not extremely accurate. We do have this bottle cap lifter, screwdriver. There is a SIM card ejector somewhere on one of these, I believe. We've got a knife here, file, nail file, that is, package opener on this side. Here's a SIM card ejector, tiny small screwdriver, SIM card ejectors right there. There is a right here. Something to do with your ears, I guess. And then on this side, this one right here is a little harder to get out, set of tweezers. So you have like these scale tools, sort of neat. But this is a very cool tool, and it's only around $17 for the Flissa version. It is a little cheaper sometimes on AliExpress. I think I've seen a version for about $15, but it's not that much cheaper. And the SwissTech version on AliExpress, I think, was $21. So the Flissa model actually on Amazon will be a little cheaper than the SwissTech version. I think it's a really great tool, especially if some of you are not a fan of the Leatherman Micra. Maybe the next tool, mini scissor version of their flagship, their mini flagship, mini sailor, isn't your cup of tea, then I think this could be an excellent tool. If you really want a pocket clip on it, you could always get one of those adhesive pocket clips that I think would work really good as well. So yeah, I think it's a pretty great tool that Flissa is going to finally release in the US. I think these have been all on AliExpress, but finally they'll be over here. Now, this last tool from Flissa, I have a little bit of warring emotions from it because it is essentially about as close as you can get of a copy of the Gerber NXT. I think there's one or two things they've changed. It's a little bit heavier. This is the original version. And then this is very similar. This is made by another copy, Black Hawk, which Baron Sons sells, I believe, right here. But it looks essentially identical to what we see Flissa selling on Amazon. Flissa has a G10 versions. That's why I pulled this out, because Flissa's looks pretty nice with their G10 version. I don't think this is even G10. This is just plastic. Now, Baron Sons tries to sell this for around $70 the last I looked on their website, I believe. But Flissa tries to sell this on Amazon, their G10 version, for around $17, which I think makes a lot more sense. And Gerber tries to sell their NXT version for $50. You can buy the Gerber NXT suspension on eBay. Last I looked, for $15 to $20. Used most every day, but maybe that has changed recently. But anyhow, with Flissa offering in G10, I feel like that is a nice little touch if you want your Gerber NXT in something that's a little bit more premium feeling. I feel like the tool may feel a little bit more heavier duty. I think it is a little bit of a heavier tool. So that's a good thing and a bad thing. I think some people complained before about the flex in the Gerber NXT handles. That flex may be gone a little bit, but so is some of the pocketability, because NXT was very light in the pocket, whereas in these versions from Black Hawk, Byberry, Flissa, whatever, are not as light, but they're still pretty nice. They have the pocket clip, spring-loaded pliers, the wire cutters. One of the things that's really nice is these really long Phillips drivers. You've got a bunch of extra tools in these handles. You do have the pair of scissors, which I think is the weak point in some of these, but there is a set of scissors. I've had a lot of issues with the spring in my original Gerber NXT. You can just sort of reset the spring, but it does get a little bit annoying. I haven't really used these off-brand versions that much. If some of you have, maybe you can let me know, but for $17, you don't really expect that much in a tool. And I think this offers a fair amount for $17. So I think Flissa's version of this, especially their G10 version, for around $17 seems like a pretty good deal and something that some of you might actually enjoy having. So overall, I am very impressed with some of the moves that these companies are taking. In the past, when I was growing up, actually, there were a ton of very, very cheap multi-tools that essentially were, I don't want to say worthless, because you can always get some worth out of a multi-tool, no matter how bad it is, but they were really bad. Flissa definitely seems to be moving up. Yes, they may be taking other people's designs, but at least they're copying better designs, I guess, is the only positive way we can look at it. And whether it's their scissor tool, their NXT clone, or their utility knife, there are some really nice designs coming from Flissa. And no longer are people stuck on some of the premium brands. You don't have to wait on them to have a sale once a year. You can buy some of these other brands, and they actually offer sometimes some really good value.